equipping you to think well about culture and create conversations that lead to wisdom. This is the THINQ podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the THINQ podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Lyons, and today we are talking about an incredible story of how one lady took on the mission to take down Pornhub. Now, if you're familiar with what's taken place in the porn world and porn industry, we've seen that industry grow into the billions, and very few people know what to do about it. And today you're going to meet somebody who felt so compelled to get creative and innovative about how she was going to make a difference in this space. And I hope it's going to help you navigate perhaps anything you're being confronted with in the world that is evil, that feels just too big to confront. Laila Mickelwait, the founder of the Justice Defense Fund and the driving force behind the global movement to hold Pornhub accountable for its role in trafficking and abuse, is going to deliver a talk in just a moment that I hope encourages you and inspires you in whatever area that you're called to work. She's the author of the book, Takedown, Inside the Fight to Shut Down Pornhub for Child Abuse, Rape, and Sex Trafficking. Most recently, she was on the Joe Rogan Show, Jordan Peterson, Theo Vaughn. The world is paying attention to her story, but prior to doing those interviews, she was with us to help our young leaders through our Next Gen Summit better understand the calling that they have, no matter what area they're called to confront injustice, to, no matter how big the enemy feels, to move into that space creatively and with innovation. And you're going to hear an inspiring story from Laila. Let's listen in now.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Well, I'm going to tell you a story today about the movement to take down Pornhub. And I'm going to start with the victims because they're the reason why I'm here today. So there was a 15-year-old girl from Broward County, Florida, who was missing for an entire year. And she was finally found when her mother was tipped off by a Pornhub user that he had recognized her daughter on the site. And she was found in 58 videos being raped and trafficked for profit. This is Serena, a 14-year-old from Bakersfield, California, a straight-A student whose sexual abuse was uploaded to Pornhub again and again, getting millions of views. It would be downloaded and uploaded, and she would beg for that video to be taken down, and they would ignore her. But if they did respond, they would hassle her, saying, "Prove you're a victim. Prove that you're underage in this video." This all sent her on a spiral of despair. She was bullied in school. She ended up dropping out of school. She got addicted to drugs to numb the pain. She tried to kill herself multiple times and then wound up homeless, living out of a car. There was a 12-year-old boy in Alabama who was drugged and overpowered and raped by a man named Rocky Shea Franklin, who filmed those assault videos and uploaded 23 of them to Pornhub in a profit-sharing relationship with the site, where they were actually splitting the profits from the sale of this boy's rape. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison for what he did. Police reached out multiple times demanding those videos come down, but they were ignored. For 7 months, they stayed up, getting hundreds of thousands of views. The Sunday Times did an investigation. Within minutes, they found dozens of illegal videos on the site, even children as young as 3 years old. And it's not just children who are ending up on Pornhub. This is Nicole Adamando from New York. And she was being sexually tortured and raped by her partner who was filming that abuse and uploading it to Pornhub. She ended up killing him in self-defense and was sentenced to life in prison, separated from her 2 young children. Victims call this the immortalization of their trauma, where they know that the worst moments of their lives are being filmed and distributed for profit and pleasure, and that they will live on long after they're gone. One victim said, "My abuser put me in a mental prison, but Pornhub gave me a life sentence." Now, this might seem shocking considering that at the start of this fight in 2020, Pornhub was the 5th most trafficked website on the entire internet, with more views than Netflix, Amazon, and Yahoo. They had 170 billion visits per day, 170 million visits per day, 62 billion visits per year, and enough content uploaded every year. It would take 169 years to watch if you put those videos back to back. Pornhub was named by researchers as the 3rd most influential tech company on global society, just behind Facebook and Google. This is the world's YouTube of porn. where anybody could become a pornographer who had an iPhone, could film a sex act in a hotel room, in the back of a car in a park, and upload it to the site. It's owned by a parent company called MindGeek. MindGeek owns a virtual monopoly on the global porn industry. With a $362 million loan, they essentially rolled up the entire porn industry, and they own most of the world's most popular porn sites and brands, with Pornhub being their flagship site and their cash cow. And one night in early 2020, it was February 1st, in the dark hours before dawn, after 15 years of being in this fight against trafficking, and I was thinking about these headlines that I had just read recently that I just shared with you. And a haunting question came to my mind. How in the world did this abuse end up on Pornhub? And I had an idea. I decided that I was going to test the upload system for myself. And I found out what millions of people already knew. And that was that all it took to upload to Pornhub was an email address. That they weren't verifying an ID to make sure that these weren't children in the videos. They weren't verifying consent to make sure that these weren't rape or trafficking victims. And because of that, the site became infested with videos of real sexual crime. I quickly understood that Pornhub was not a porn site, it was a crime scene. And I was compelled to sound the alarm on what was going on. And that was the launch of the Trafficking Hub movement. It started with a hashtag. We ended up making a lot of noise. We took to the streets, and today we have over 400 million views on social media. 600 organizations have joined the fight from 65 countries. 2.3 million people have signed the petition to shut down Pornhub from every country in the world, and thousands of media pieces have been written exposing this site. The most important was called The Children of Pornhub by two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Nick Kristof of the New York Times, who highlighted Serena's horrible story and others like her. And this sent shockwaves around the world, and the pressure was really on when this was released. And after a year of battling with the credit card companies to try to get them to stop doing business with the site, finally, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover all cut ties with Pornhub, leaving them with only cryptocurrency as a payment option. This was Pornhub's worst nightmare because they exist to make money off of free porn. It's all highly monetized. They sell 4.6 billion ad impressions on Pornhub every day. But in a panic, they did the unthinkable in order to try to get the credit card companies back. They began deleting millions of videos from the site. And today, they have taken down 91% of the entire website in what Financial Times, yes, in what Financial Times has called probably the biggest takedown of content in internet history. They went from 56 million pieces of content in 2020 to 5.2 million today, and we kept the pressure on. They lost all mainstream advertisers and partners. Even KY Jelly and Astroglide will not advertise on Pornhub anymore. The CEO and the COO were forced to resign, and the secret majority shareholder who was hiding his identity from the public for years was found and exposed, and today dozens of victims are suing the literal hell out of this man and the company.
I'm Gabe Lyons, president of THINQ, and I want to invite you to join us for our first ever THINQ Summit 2025, coming to Nashville October 2nd to 4th. For 20 years, we've been creating spaces for leaders to come together, but we've never created a space like this. The amount of interaction, the amount of experiences, the keynote talks, the workshops, the skills you're going to learn, the new friends you're going to walk out of the room with is just going to be second to none. And so as you're making your plans for 2025, put on your calendar now, Thursday, October 2nd through Saturday, October 4th. Go to our website at thinkmedia.com/summit and learn all about the ways you're going to learn and interact with so many different leaders from around this nation. Culture changes when leaders from different channels of culture come together in common purpose. We've designed this summit as a space that's not just about content, but it's about relationships. It's about meeting other leaders that will inspire you, encourage you, and ultimately create culture together. Join us in October 2nd to 4th for THINQ Summit 2025. Learn more at thinkmedia.com/summit.
Pornhub was criminally charged by the federal government for knowingly profiting from sex trafficking, and it was sold as a distressed asset to a hastily concocted private equity firm, disgustingly named Ethical Capital Partners, and the fight goes on today. Today, they're being sued by hundreds of victims in 25 lawsuits, including class action lawsuits on behalf of tens of thousands of child victims. Pornhub has faced a reckoning, but we're not done yet because Pornhub is still online. We're gonna finish this job. This behemoth of criminal abuse is on its knees, and we have our collective foot on the neck of this giant. And we're not gonna shut up until Pornhub shuts down. And we're not gonna stop fighting. We're not gonna stop fighting until justice is fully served. And so I would invite you into this movement, into this fight. We're not only gonna take down Pornhub, but we wanna take down this criminal abuse across the internet because Pornhub's not alone. Other websites operate just like it. So you can go to takedownbook.com. You can join Team Takedown. You know, I wrote this book. It's written like a true crime thriller where you go on this journey of discovery with me. You meet the victims, you meet the whistleblowers, the insiders, and you peel back the onion layers of complicity so that you can get equipped and that you can get inspired and activated in this fight, but the fight against sex trafficking and child sexual abuse on the internet as a whole. 100% of all proceeds from the sale of this book are donated to the Justice Defense Fund to advance the cause. And on a personal note, I would just encourage each of you to just keep throwing punches, to just keep fighting over, those giants that are in your own life, whether it's addiction or whether it's depression or whether it's a justice issue that you're passionate about. Because the breakthrough that you have been waiting for might be just around the corner. And Jesus tells us that if we have faith just the size of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. We can, and nothing will be impossible for us, nothing. And so I just want to keep fighting with all of you until justice fully prevails. Thank you.
Well, I hope your takeaway from hearing Laila's story is just proof that one person's courage, paired with a movement of truth tellers, can bring about real change. We're living in a time where information doubles every 12 hours. But I can tell you, exposure of evil seems to be doubling every 12 hours. We're living in a world where corruption is being exposed, and it's happening through bold, courageous people, whether they're whistleblowers or people who've been confronted with stories in their own life that they say this evil can't go forward, and they're willing to risk it all, their reputation, sometimes even their life, to expose this evil. I think it's going to take a lot of courage from all of us to expose these types of things wherever we're confronted with them. And Laila gives us an incredible story. I want to encourage you, go listen to some of those longer episodes that allow you to get to know her, whether it's Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Theo Vaughn, where she goes in depth on this story. Get her book, Takedown. I think you'll enjoy hearing this story. Or if you're trying to inspire a daughter or a young woman who's pursuing a career of justice, Laila's story is one that they will want to hear. Well, continue to plan to join us October 2nd to 4th for THINQ Summit 2025 here in the heart of Nashville. Learn all about it at thinksummit.com in the show notes below. And when you do, you'll be exposed to over 90 different experiences, speakers, talks, topics, interactions, all kinds of workshops, skill building, learning tracks, music, film. This is going to be 3 days for you to just step away from the work you've been called to do and be inspired again, be renewed in this cultural moment, to recognize the questions the world's asking and how you can step into it, not alone, but alongside other thought leaders who God's positioned in every channel of culture to collaborate together, to work together, to create together, and you are not going to want to miss it. This will sell out. I want to encourage you, go ahead and reserve not only your seats, but if you're leading a team, if you're leading a church, no matter what you're called to lead, consider, are there 7 other individuals to come sit with you at a table of 8? This entire event will be tables of 8, and you'll be able to have conversations that go much deeper around these topics when you come and learn with your community and with those you've been called to perhaps advance culture with. We hope to see you there. Hope you have a wonderful day.